expenditures of the Consolidated Fund Services under the budget estimates for the next financial year 2026-2027. And allow me to begin by thanking the members of the Debt Committee, Honorable Speaker, because as you have said, they consider this expenditure of the Consolidated Fund Services as a consequence of what we have already committed ourselves to, Honorable Speaker. And it's true, and I must agree with my brother, Honorable Undo, that many of the things we are arguing about here are facts that we should not even be arguing about. We just need to be honest with each other. That true, we have a fiscal deficit every year. Year on, year out, we have a fiscal deficit. And the question then that we should be asking ourselves as leaders today is how do we bridge that gap so that we continuously reduce our fiscal deficit, because that is the only way you will reduce borrowing. Forget about all these other semantics of whether securitization is borrowing or not. There are various schools of thoughts on whether securitization is actual borrowing or not. And we may not have the time in this debate to be able to explore all the schools of thought academically, and even from those who are students of economics and accountants like ourselves, Honorable Speaker. But the fact is that we have a fiscal deficit, and this year we have, for the first time, Honorable Speaker, budgeted for the highest fiscal deficit in the recent past at 5.3%. That again is a fact that we cannot run away from. What is informing this fiscal deficit, Honorable Speaker, is exactly what you are trying to educate the country on, that we have budget estimates or expenditure estimates that outstrip our revenue projections. And the other fact, Honorable Speaker, is that we have said it here. If we are honest, if we are leaders, if we want to be leaders, not political noisemakers, as some of us want to be seen how intelligent we are out there. If you are a true leader, you should be honest enough to tell the people of Kenya and the world that we are dealing with a wartime economy, as I said here when we were debating these estimates and the fuel economy matters. Because, Honorable Speaker, global supply chain logistics are disrupted whether we like it or not. Availability of fuel around the globe is also disrupted. We don't live in an ivory tower. We live in a congested world with the rest of the world. And therefore, even as we budget today, we must be very honest to ourselves that these budget estimates that we are budgeting today, very soon, we may have to look at a supplementary budget to further cut on our expenditure estimates. Not just with the view of reducing the fiscal deficit that we are budgeted for, but also cognizant of the fact that we are living in uncertain times. We do not know, and we have no control of when the war in the Middle East will end. I hear some who purport to be very intelligent telling us, oh, the Strait of Hormuz. No oil, not a single barrel of our oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz. You know, again, that is a plain lie. If you look at where we are buying our oil from in Saudi Arabia, Honorable Speaker, and you've been there for Hajj, unfortunately, this year you didn't make it because of your busy schedules.
No, I made it.
Oh, you made it?
I was in Hajj.
I thought because I had seen you 2-3 weeks ago before the recess, you did not make it for Hajj.
No, I made it.
And you know, at least you've been to Saudi. Some of us have, even those who purport to know the region do not know. You will add me a minute, Honorable Speaker, or two, do not know Saudi. Because where the oil fields are and where the refineries are, and I said here last week, are two different things. And the refineries, some of them, Honorable Speaker, have even been demolished. The one in Bahrain, for instance, was bombed by the Iranians. We have no control over these things. But we have to live with them in our country and in our time. What do we do as leaders? Then we must manage our expenditures. We must be able to rationalize all our expenditures. And I want to call on us as leaders now to desist from the politicking and the grandstanding and start offering solutions. Because it is very easy for you to stand here and purport that there are people who imagine they are more intelligent than others and throw jabs at each other. But, Honorable Speaker, at the end of the day, the people we represent want to see what solutions
give him. Has he run out of time or there's a problem with the?
They are giving me 5 minutes like everybody else. I think, Honorable Speaker, because I contributed later, the clerks at the desk have assumed it is the ordinary contributions, but I have more time on this, Honorable Speaker, by virtue of the office that I hold. And to also set the record straight, Honorable Speaker, as I call for leadership, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the Debt Committee has done an excellent job. And they have told you, Honorable Speaker, if you look at the figures in this report, almost 1.0, out of the consolidated fund services, the public debt service allocation is 2.31 trillion. Ask yourself, Honorable Speaker, if you are spending 2.31 trillion shillings on debt service allocation, and you are projecting to raise maybe 3.6, you'll be left with about 1.3 trillion. We are still in mediation with the county governments that are asking for another 450 billion out of that 1.3. How much are we leaving for expenditure? And that is why I like intelligent, informed, and honest contributions like those of Dr. Oundo, who is asking us, if our debt service today, even interest payments, are higher in terms of percentage to GDP, higher than our development allocation in our estimates, Honorable Speaker, what are we doing to our country? And those are the solutions we should be looking for, Honorable Speaker, today. As we'll point fingers at each other, Honorable Speaker, the committee is telling you, out of this 2.31, 1.06 is in redemption, or rather principal payments, and 1.25 in interest payments. That tells you interest payments alone are taking close to 54%, almost 60% of our CFS. And therefore, as we consider these estimates, interest payments, we are not paying interest on the debts borrowed in the last 2 years or the last 3 years, presided over by Honorable Atandi and Honorable Ndindi Nyoro as budget chair. And I do not mention their names in vain because they did not do this work alone. We did it collectively, dictated by circumstances of our economy at the time. Just like today, we are budgeting dictated by circumstances that pertain today, not last year. It's very easy to say, oh, Mwai Kibaki did not borrow this much. Very popular out there with villagers and other people who may not understand and who may not know what you know. But we must be honest to tell Kenyans, Mwai Kibaki presided over an economy under the old constitution that had no devolution. There was nobody asking Mwai Kibaki for 500, half a trillion shillings to go to our county governments, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we had a government after Mwai Kibaki that was in power for 10 years and borrowed.
What is out of order in Nyoro?
Honorable Speaker, is important for us because we are still informing Kenyans. The fact of the matter is that the entire 10 years of President Mwai Kibaki, Kenya borrowed 1.2 trillion Kenya shillings.
Order, Honorable, order. Let's not go on the... Order, I will explain to you. When you go on a point of order, you are raising on a specific matter which is out of order, which is as a result of the chair. But you keep going back 10 years. What is it? What is out of order?
I've seated here listening, Honorable Speaker, and the majority leader keeps talking about solutions. But his entire presentation so far, and time is actually off, is about lamentations. So if we have the government lamenting before the Kenyan people, what do you want Kenyans to do?
Order, Honorable Ndindi Nyoro. You still are out of order. Proceed, Honorable Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, I don't know what is itching my brother because I have not even finished my contribution. And I was headed there because, Honorable Speaker, I was saying, rather than lecture the country to want to seem to look intelligent, what we should be offering are solutions. And we should be telling Kenyans honestly that the Mwai Kibaki government did borrow, but they were living under different circumstances, not under the 2010 Constitution. The 2010 Constitution, when Uhuru Kenyatta came into power in 2013, you will see the exponential growth of that debt, dictated again by our circumstances. I know some of these members were not in that parliament, but we were there, Honorable Speaker. the former chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, a great Kenyan by the name Mutava Musimi, presided over an audit of the 2010 Constitution implementation and tabled a report in this House, Honorable Speaker, that told us we cannot and we will not afford to implement this Constitution in its entirety with our economy as it is. These are things that are in this House, Honorable Speaker, that we can read and inform ourselves. But that be so, Honorable Speaker, we are where we are. Aware that we cannot claw back on our gains in the Constitution of 2010, Honorable Speaker, because the people of northeastern Kenya today can pride themselves with having a brand new stadium in Wajir County, Honorable Speaker. The people of Wajir, for the first time in the history of Kenya, feel part and parcel of the Republic of Kenya. They are not excluded. That is the new nation that we are fashioning. And that nation cannot be fashioned, Honorable Speaker, with petty politicking and grandstanding and throwing jabs at each other to look intelligent to our villagers. I do not want to be that villager who looks brighter than fellow villagers. I want to be a leader in this country who will offer solutions. And those solutions, Honorable Speaker, come in the Sovereign Wealth Fund that is before this House being considered by the Finance and Planning Committee. Those solutions come in the National Infrastructure Fund, which we set up as this House, Honorable Speaker, to be able to have alternative means of financing this budget so that we do not continue growing our fiscal deficit. Those are the solutions we should be offering, Honorable Speaker. Some of these people are here, Honorable Speaker, speak about these issues, are people who stood in their place here to oppose the establishment of the National Infrastructure Fund. Honorable Speaker, that National Infrastructure Fund is what, for those that we campaigned with, Honorable Speaker, and some were very loud in our campaigns in 2022. Very loud. Page 10 of the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto, Honorable Speaker, spoke about the establishment of the National Infrastructure Fund. And some of those who were on cut-ups, pretending to be very intelligent economists, spoke to the establishment of the National Infrastructure Fund. Hypocrisy, dishonesty, and political grandstanding for cheap publicity. Now they come before this House and they tell us, oh, this National Infrastructure Fund, oh, this is illegal borrowing, this is odious debt language they are borrowing from some guy called, I think, Jimmy someone. I don't know what he does in this country. He is a party leader of some party that was led by a former member of parliament from Kikuyu. Honorable Speaker, securitization, Honorable Speaker, is part of the solutions that we must devise to get away from these systemic fiscal deficits that we have year in, year out. Because if we do not find alternative means of financing our capital or our development expenditure, or even our recurrent expenditure, Honorable Speaker, we change our education system from 844 by Uhuru Kenyatta regime to CBE or CBC. We knew we had a deficit of 116,000 teachers, Honorable Speaker. When we changed, Honorable Speaker, I do not know what I have said because the CBC...
Order. Everybody will have their moment. We will not have a situation in which you interrupt endlessly. He is making a contribution. Wait until he completes. When you get, what's your point of order?
I have due respect to the majority leader because being majority leader, it takes a lot of energy and efforts to be there. But for record purposes, is it in order to say that 844 system of government was initiated during Uhuru's time and they were changing it now to this time? Let's just be factual.
No, he didn't say 844, he said something else. The CBC. Yes.
You know, my brother Undo, I know, was touched when I mentioned the name Uhuru Kenyatta. Not 844, and actually he says 844 system of government is the 844 system of education. And it's a fact of life. When the former CS for education, Amina Mohammed, slowed down on the transition from 844 to CBC, she was fired by President Uhuru Kenyatta and brought in those who he thought would fast track the transition to CBC. But that left this country in a very uncertain times, and I do not have time to go into that, Honorable Speaker. But we know, and I was saying the point I was making is that part of our recurrent expenditure is going to paying salaries and wages. There are 116,000 teachers that we said in our manifesto as Kenya Kwanza that we are short of 116,000 teachers. Facts again. The chair for education is here. He will tell you 100,000 out of those 116,000 teachers have since been employed. We have to pay them. These teachers are not employed to stand in shopping centers in Kikuyu, in Kiharu, or in Funyula. They are teaching our children in schools, and we have to pay them, Honorable Speaker. Because we are paying these children, Honorable Speaker, we must then ask ourselves, then how do we finance this recurrent expenditure and capital expenditure without overburdening the Kenyan taxpayers with additional taxes? Because if you take that route, Kenyans have loudly told us they do not have space for additional taxation. And Honorable Speaker, that is why I was speaking to the establishment of the National Infrastructure Fund, the Sovereign Wealth Fund, and Honorable Speaker, new innovative ways of financing our development growth and our development expenditure outside of the budget through such initiatives as securitization. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, I want to support this motion by the Debt Committee and encourage them to be forthright members of our society, to be truthful and faithful to the truth, and to help steer our nation through the problems that we have found ourselves in, because we are in problems. Problems that were not created in these 3 years of the William Ruto administration. Problems of a decade ago, 10 years ago, created over 10 years ago. I heard the member for Funyula tell us that the owners of capital, Honorable Speaker, wanted us to continue borrowing domestically. And it is true. And he knows those who are presiding over state capture in the last regime. They are at pains today because we are consistently moving away from that through innovative means of financing our budget. We are not borrowing domestically. We are not growing their banks. No wonder some of them have begun selling their banks to South Africans. Shame on you.
Rendekere Mugambi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have listened to the debate. Mr. Speaker, I am a very disturbed legislature. Mr. Speaker, what I have heard is completely out of the debate which has been presented by the committee. Mr. Speaker, on page 24 to page 26, the committee has made observations.